Hi there, welcome back. My name is Marc Price and this is video number 6 in our Sound Daoying series. Okay, so remember, Sound Daoying is all about, funnily enough, making sounds. We make them ourselves with our own voices and we make them move through the body. Before I go on, let me remind you, just in case this is the first video that you've seen, please go back to the first video in the series because that video covers fundamental information that you need throughout the rest of the series, and I don't want to have to keep repeating it. I will summarise the key points there, but really if this is your first time, please do watch that first video for it to make absolute 100% sense. And this is particularly important in this video because this is the last of the sounds that we're going to cover. The 6th sound. There's actually 5 sounds in the system, but we also use some other sounds, R for example, to warm up with, which is what we used in the first video. And actually that R sound is really a really nice sound. It's kind of like a fundamental, it's considered in the East to be a fundamental phoneme, sort of from which all of the phonemes somehow emerge. Anyway, we'll forget the philosophy for now and just stick to the practical stuff. So remember, this is about using an exercise system that comes from ancient China. It was designed to work with the TCM, the traditional Chinese medicine concept of health and the body and physiology. However, we also know that the use of sound together with movement activates particular dopamine pathways in the brain, and therefore this is very interesting for therapeutic exercise for people who are suffering with Parkinson's. Okay, so today's sound is called Jue, and it's spelled in English J-U-E, although that's not English, is it? But it's spelled in the in our English translation of it as J-U-E. It is, I've left it till last, this one, even though it doesn't actually come last in the sequence as described. I left it till last because it's perhaps the most complex to create. But the only reason why it's complex is because it's really quick. We make this sound really, really quickly. But also, it's not really ideally done on an out breath. We don't really think about the breathing in this one. We make internal movement, just like we do in the other ones, at the same time as making the sound. But the internal movement is the kind of internal movement you might use for breathing in. So it makes it a little bit more interesting, shall we say. Yeah? You don't normally aim to make sound when you're breathing in. But interestingly, I've been teaching my little son, he's only 6, how to whistle. And I remember when I first learned to whistle, I found it really difficult learning how to whistle. Children do. And I first managed to make a noise by breathing in. I can't do it now, but I was able to make quite a loud whistle noise breathing in, but I couldn't make any whistle noise breathing out. So although as adults probably we are not used to the idea of making a speech sound, if you like, when you're talking it's always with an out breath, because you're not used to this idea of making a noise with your voice whilst breathing in. And if we try to actually incorporate breathing in into the pronunciation or enunciation of this sound, it makes it even harder. So actually it's better to just forget about the breathing, just breathe normally, but we just make these internal movements. Now the internal movement is quite, I need to go into some detail with it actually to make the sound. But as I say, it's quite a short, sharp movement that we make. And it's the same as before. We're doing this lifting up of the pelvic floor, we're pulling back the abdomen and forcing something up. Okay, Now, with all the other sounds, we started off by doing that. We breathed in and sort of brought some energy or some movement up and then made the movement go somewhere. Here, we make the sound when we do that first thing, where we lift or force the sound up or make an upwards movement. So this movement then is basically stretching open the spine, in the same way as we always do. So remember, we have our feet parallel. They're roughly shoulder width apart, so they're slightly wider than your hips. They're brought right back and you're perched on the edge of your chair so that you can lean forwards a little bit. Now, you're not leaning forwards like that. You're leaning forwards from the hip joints, yeah? So this is where the lean is. It's like you're like a scissor lift. You've got this, not quite a right angle, but you're not straight. You're forwards, yeah? So you've reduced the angle from a right angle to something smaller by sitting forwards. But as I say, you're not leaning or bowing the spine. You're trying to stretch the spine up. Now, we create this upward stretch by pushing into the ground through our feet. So we've got about 50% of our body weight in our feet, the rest of it's in the sit bone, and we're just gently pushing through the feet into the ground to stretch open the spine. And then we breathe in and stretch open the spine even more. And it's a short, sharp impulse up the spine, okay? At the same time as making this noise. Now the noise, I haven't told you what it is yet, have I? The noise, we call it jua, yeah? But it's actually pronounced ch, I, o, e, but together in a short, sharp shock. It's loud if you get it right, okay? So if you're trying to make this noise and it's all kind of hush hush and it's not making much noise, chances are you're not doing it quite right. So you can judge how well you're doing by, apart from other things, the volume of the noise that you're making. The other judge with this is if you start to squeak. Sometimes you can force it too hard that you're sort of making a kind of a screechy, squeaky noise. And now I may do this as well. So, we're all human, we're not perfect. As soon as you start to do that, you need to back off a little bit. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate the sound to you now. So brace yourselves because it is a little bit loud. So I'm just going to get myself into a nice position. And that is what you do, okay? You really want to create a big force and it's going to flick the spine a little bit. It's like that in the spine. So the spine is kind of like fairly stretched, but then you're lifting up the pelvic floor, pulling back the abdomen really quickly, abdominal muscles really quickly to squeeze air up and out. I'll do that again for you. So if you don't produce an external movement similar to what I just did, the chances are you're not quite getting it right. But essentially what you're doing is trying to send a wave up the spine. Yeah, so the spine is basically you're sending a wave of stretch up the spine. Okay, do you want to have a go? Are you ready? So remember, get a good sitting position, arms just hanging, shoulders a little bit separated apart, but soft otherwise, yeah? So in a vertical direction, you don't want them lifted up, you don't want them pushing down, you just want them at rest. But at the same time, then you're trying to move them apart so you can create some space in the chest cavity. Creating space in the chest cavity helps to produce a good sound. You probably might want to warn the neighbours about this, so perhaps you should pause the video and just make sure that all of that is organised for you. Okay, are you ready? 3, 2, 1. We'll do it 3 times, shall we? You ready? And one more go. So that's the sound. That's how we make it. And we're going to spend a good portion of this video practicing that. I want to give you a little warning now with this sound. This is like second year work, if you like. All the other sounds were nice and calming. They're nice and down and peaceful and relaxing and bring you into a really nice state of peace. This is more the opposite of that, but it's not stressy. It doesn't stress you out or make you anxious. It just makes you very alert. Yeah. So if it's 11 o'clock at night and you're about to go to bed, this isn't the time to be doing this particular exercise. Perhaps middle of the morning or just before lunch or something like that would be fine, just to get you nice and alert. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this exercise to become alert. I just want you to be aware that if you're doing this exercise right, it will cause you to become more alert, more energized, more focused. So nothing bad about that, but not ideal if you're about to go to bed. In the next 2 videos, we're going to be taking all of these sounds together and working with them. Now, this sound in particular is quite useful with one of the other sounds. So the next video I'm going to be working with those 2, yeah. Because what you can do with that is you can kind of like create a very pure presence to your feeling of consciousness, because you produce this alert sound and then you produce a nice calming sound. So calm yet alert. Sounds like a contradiction in terms, but trust me, when you try it, it's really, really nice. It's kind of like a purifying. But we don't have time to do all of that in one video. We're just going to get this sound right first, and then at the next video we'll have a go at doing that. I just wanted to give you a heads up about it, so that you don't think, oh, I can only do this sound sort of first thing in the morning or whatever. Not necessarily, actually. Once you start bringing in the other sounds, then you can do it at any time of the day, actually. But on its own, this sound is really a morning exercise, I think. Are you ready to give it another go? Notice how my voice is starting to get a little bit deeper, I suppose. It will do that to you. So make sure you've got a drink handy. I don't have a drink handy because I've got all this tech in front of me and don't want to spoil it. But I will be going away after recording this video and having a good drink. But do make sure you've got a drink ready so that you can refresh your vocal cords at appropriate moments. Okay, we're going to do another 3 goes at this sound. Are you ready? So make sure you're in a good sitting position, make sure your shoulders are good, make sure your head is on top of your shoulders, not leaning forwards, not leaning back. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Now, I want to say something, but I'm going to wait until the next 2. Okay, let's have another go. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now I'm going to say that thing that I wanted to say. That's this. Your sound should be starting in your belly, and its maximum power should be around about here. So we're working the thoracic part of the spine, ideally, with this. So there's kind of like a vibration in this part of the spine. But we don't let it stop there. We want to send it right the way up, through the top of the head if you can. Okay? So just some fine tuning as always. Shall we have another go? Another 3. So I'm just looking out my window. We've got some people walking past, so let's see if I can make them jump. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now this time, I don't have anything to say about it because I think really I've covered everything. It's just a very interesting sound. I think it's probably my favourite actually in the Sound Daoying set. and it's the one that I really actually got properly first time when I was taught it by my teacher. The rest of them are slightly more nuanced, a bit more gentle, I suppose. Maybe at that time I was kind of in a state where I really needed to get aggression out. It's kind of a bit aggressive, isn't it? You're letting go of aggression. So maybe this is actually quite a therapeutic sound to use if something that made you angry or cross or frustrated happened to you today. You've got a few moments now to try to vent, and this can be a really good way of venting. There are other ways that are really appropriate, like kicking a football, for example. But this one can work too, provided no one's going to get upset by making these sudden sharp noises. So the problem with anger actually is that a lot of the stuff that you can do to release anger tends to offend people. But I think this is one of the least offensive things. But anyway, it's not the only reason why we do this. It's exercising the spine, and it has a very key function in TCM. Let's have another 3 goes, shall we? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Now, I just want to recap about the squeaky noise. Yeah. You can start to find, you'll find that you will start to produce a squeaky noise if you're overdoing it. Yeah. So you want to try and conserve energy. You want to make a good energetic pulse go up the spine, but you don't want to deliberately shout. Yeah, if you're deliberately shouting, it does make you a little bit hoarse, but if you're deliberately shouting, it's really going to overwork the vocal cords and cause you problems. And the first sign that that's happening is when you go rather than yeah. So we have a couple of minutes left of our video time. Let's use it wisely, shall we? Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Last go. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. So, let's just say again, this particular sound exercise is best done at a time of day when you're not about to go to sleep, because it's energizing, it makes you alert. However, generally, the set of sounds that we've covered in this and the previous videos should be used together. Yeah, you should have a session of making a series of sounds a few times for each sound. But in this particular case, in this sound, it's best paired off with one of the other sounds, so that you go and then make the other noise, so that it's up, down, and that way what you're creating is a very pure feeling. You're getting the peace, but you're also getting the focus together, which is really nice to have. We're going to cover that in more detail in the next video. So I do look forward to speaking to you about that then. But that's all for now. So cheerio, and I won't see you, but see me next time.